I believe that God gave us 5 senses for a reason, right? And when anybody asks me, how do you create a space? I always think of the 5 senses.
Hey, Kim, it's good to see you. Glad to have
Good to
you on
be
the
here.
podcast.
Thank you for the
And
invitation.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And we're friends. So if we just kind of embark on just another discussion that's off topic, people will just have to forgive us and they'll just have to let us go until we get our brains back in the game and continue on with our topic, huh?
We have a tendency to do that. So
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
chasing squirrels.
Chasing squirrels, chasing squirrels. So let's just get started. This is a different twist on the podcast. It's kind of a different topic. We're talking about creatives. We're talking about creative spaces. We won't just be talking about spaces in this whole month, this whole series, but we are talking about the creative process, whatever that involves. And so you are incredibly creative. You're one of the most creative brains I know. I think that's one reason I love to be around you so much. You get me, you get that wild and crazy part that just goes off into outer space. But when you come back, you bring something of worth, and it's so cool. So you actually came to my daughter's wedding and you did the flowers and you made magic happen with the flowers, and you incorporated a lot of my mom, who had just passed away, her brooches. She was a brooch person, and so you incorporated a lot of that into the arrangements. And Kendra's bouquet, in my opinion, was the most gorgeous one that has ever existed. And yeah, and I mean that. I really do. It was just beautiful. So I do know you're incredible with that. I know that I've been to your place. I've been to an event that you put together, and I watched how you created the atmosphere outside under a tent for that event with big balloon arch and the decor and the atmosphere. So that's what I want to talk about, because that is so super important. And a lot of women put way too much emphasis on it. But I think the vast majority of women don't put enough emphasis on it. And I think men like to pride themselves on the fact they don't see, quote unquote, any of that. But I beg to differ. I think that when men who don't think they notice all that walk into a room, they automatically register whether the room is warm and welcoming, or whether there's ambiance, or whether it's a mess, or whether it is just not put together well. So it is super, super, super important. And that's why I want us to talk about it. I think all of us need to be more aware. And I think then there are a whole lot of women who are aware and just don't know what to do. They see it, but they have no idea where to begin. They're busy. They're working. They have kids, they have husbands, they have all of this stuff, and they don't know what to do. So that's what we are going to talk about. So let's go.
Let's go.
So let's start with, what would you classify as your personal style? How do you feel that you exhibit that?
Well, I think it depends too on is it my style of dress? Is it my style of design? It's funny because I feel like I have several different personalities. So within dress, I would say classic, timeless, but trendy, probably in my design as well. However, there are days that I want to be a little bit more funky, or, so I think it depends on the mood. Now in design, I like to stay timeless. I like to do things that 5 years down the road, you don't have to redo, because let's be honest, people don't have the money to do that. And if we continue to do the trends every year, you're going to be throwing things out that you could still use. So I try to stay within the classic, timeless design. And then you can throw some trendy, edgy things in, here and there. So I would say that's where I like to be. I like to use a lot of neutrals. So because colors come and go. And so that's what I would consider my style to be.
So let's talk about how you, and I'm getting, I won't be in order here of what we talked about or the questions that I sent you, but let's talk a minute about then how do you walk into a space that you may be helping someone else with that may not share your style? What do you do at that point to still contribute without taking away from what they like?
Right. Um, this question is very important, especially for people that are going to help someone design. You have to listen to what they want and actually hear. So if I walk in and say, Melanie, well, I'm going to help you with your house. What do you like? Because what you like may not be my style, but I'm going to create something at that visual board that you can get through Canva. I can put together some of my style. I can throw that in, but mostly it's going to be the colors, the style that you want. Is it mid-century? Is it industrial? Is it rustic? And it's okay to actually intertwine those, not a whole lot, but you can intertwine styles as well. So if I like industrial, you like rustic, I'm going to throw in those two components together, but it's going to be the colors and everything that you've already told me that you want. And I would say probably 70-80% of it is going to be your style. And then I just kind of try and incorporate mine style in with it. If they don't like my style at all, then we're just going to work on it until we get it right with those visual boards and me actually sitting there and hearing what you have to say. A lot of designers try to go in and actually put their style in someone's house, and then it's not their home because it's not their style. So somewhere where you're comfortable, right in the middle.
So let's go back to what you said about the Canva.
Mhm.
Okay, about a visual board. So for people who may not know what their style is, or who may only know it when they see it and they don't know how to describe it, Canva is a great way to start. So talk to me about that, how it works, and how that somebody would get started on that who may not be familiar with it.
Well, first of all, I'm going to say they actually need to get their inspiration. So before you go to Canva, you need to know, what you do like. So looking at Pinterest, looking through magazines. Do you like Restoration Hardware? Do you like Pottery Barn? And I can throw a bunch of name brands out there, but what is your style? What do you like? And then once you find that out, you can go to Canva and you can create that board. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can watch YouTube videos on it and learn how to do it. But it's basically downloading pictures from Pinterest or other places that you've gone online, downloading those pictures and then putting them into like a what's the word I'm looking for? Putting them into a collage, so to speak, and just kind of building off that. And so then you can see what the styles look like together, what the colors look like together, and if you like that. And I strongly advise people to put a budget together before you start, going and purchasing things. Put your budget together, put your collage, your Canva, your visual board together first, and then go from there, because it's very easy to pick up this and pick up that, and then you're spending money you don't need to.
Exactly. One of our other podcasts in this series is going to be decorating on a budget, and
Oh,
how that you can create a unique, wonderful space with really just what you have.
right,
Spend a little money for paint, a little money for glue, and
right.
you know.
I have put an office together that cost me probably $300. And I found a table on the road that I refurbished. I used things throughout houses and things that we weren't using. and put an office together on that budget. So it can be done. There was an old pew that came from the other church, and I put that in there. So there are ways you can design on a budget.
Oh, there are ways you can. We actually have a storefront here in our little town, and that is our office. It's a 2-story storefront. And so our studio's on the second floor, and on the bottom floor, we have finally just finished our office space. And so we needed walls. We didn't have walls. So we have IKEA cubbies. You can see them behind me. That's our walls. I found an old mantle, an old, broken, horrible looking mantle, and I painted it black and put it up against the wall and put our big flat screen in the middle of it that we do our mind mapping on. And when we're not mind mapping, I put a fire from YouTube on there to make me feel warm, in the wintertime. But everything in here is a hand-me-down. I have things from great grandparents and horrible looking things. But when you put a coat of paint on it and maybe even nail a little blingy something on it, it just transforms it. So there are ways to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're kind of getting all sidetracked, but I really enjoy creating things on a budget because I feel like I have a lot of experience with it.
Oh, I do too.
Okay. This is kind of a question that we kind of would like for us to explore just a little bit. Do you feel you're a pastor's wife? You pastor in California. You and your husband pastor in Modesto, California. Do you feel that developing a creative and inspiring space is rooted in Scripture? And if you do feel that, where do you feel that has its roots?
So this is a neat question, because I don't think a lot of people actually sit and think about, can creativity and beauty and preparing a place, is it biblical? And I'm going to say yes, it is.
I agree. Yes.
And you may have a different example than I have. I have several. Let's talk about, when Jesus went away and he created a peaceful place for him just to pray. Or the Shunammite woman who, created, we need walls, we need a table, a bed, a lamp. And that's in 2 Kings. And she created this space for the prophet to come whenever he came through. Mark 14, when they're preparing for the Last Supper, and Jesus says, here's a large upper room. He prepared a place. And then the one that I found as I was kind of thinking about this is Philemon. And when Paul wrote to him and said, I'm going to be getting out of prison here soon, I would like for you to create a room for me to come and rest, and where I can be restored through your prayers. And I was like, it's all through the Bible where there's preparation and there's setting up, and there's the temple, when they prepared the temple. There's so many things within the Bible that says, God did create in Genesis 1:1. He created us. He formed us in his image. So creativity is all through the Bible.
I totally agree with that. I've looked at nature and how God created nature. I've looked at how he well, number one, look at the rainbow. The rainbow itself is such a magnificent, amazing display of color. But you look at how, and of course, since we moved to Indiana, I didn't know you had spring until you moved. Seasons until we moved to Indiana from Louisiana. It's just green or brown. That's the only two colors. But here in the springtime, there are so many different shades of green. And it's like, it's a monochrome theme, but the shading is so different. And then you look at the blue of the sky with the white of the cloud, and then the green of the tree. And then he's going to throw in whatever color of the season.
Right. So genius. Like fall, look at all the oranges and reds, and and that's part of inspiration. I think I spoke about it earlier, is inspiration, whether it be through somebody wearing a color and you go, oh, that's pretty, but go into nature, look at the browns and the oranges and the greens and everything that
Right.
God created and put together. You've got your inspiration right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I agree.
I do that a lot. I look at the color of flowers that can be next to each other and think, oh, that would be a good color palette to do a living room, do a bedroom.
Mhm.
So yes, I'm glad you brought up the colors but preparing a place, making sure it's a peaceful place, a calm place, and then the colors that God created. You can't go
Well,
wrong.
you can't go wrong. One thing I think that sent me down the color path was thinking of Lydia. The Bible says she was a seller of purple. Um, I don't think that was just for people to wear, honestly. I think that number one, I know it was for people who were wealthier, and I understand that. But the Proverbs 31 woman had to pay special attention to her house. Lydia sold purple. I believe that probably, and it was fabric. So I believe it included wall hangings. You know, Esther, it describes all of the things that she went to prepare herself. Well, you wouldn't go through all of that to prepare yourself, to make yourself look good, and then sit in dirt.
Right.
You wouldn't do that. I just wish that I could go back in time and look and see exactly how they did it. But I know they had to use probably a lot of the same elements we do, which is color. It's candlelight,
Mhm.
lighting, what lamp light, oil light, whatever they use there, seasonal leaves, pumpkins, whatever it was they had that was
Right.
growing at the time. They had to have. They had to have. Wood.
I agree. And I think it's just been passed on to us.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people have taken it and made gods out of some of this kind of thing, especially in the 20th, 21st century. They have made it their identity. I think that's taking it too far. But I think that those who have who've wanted to step back a bit from that have also stepped back too far. So I hope that anybody listening to this would get inspired and say, you know what? I'm not going to create the grandest decor in the world, and I'm not going to be an Instagram sensation, but I am going to go make my place pleasing and aesthetically
Right.
pleasing to any who will come in, because that's a part of hospitality. And the
Absolutely.
Bible lists hospitality as a gift. So,
Yes.
so okay, this question. When you go into somebody's house or place of business or restaurant or a church or something for the first time, what speaks to you first? What do you notice first?
Oh, this is this question. Um, Clutter.
Yes.
I believe everything has a place, and it's funny when you sent the questions and I read this one, I was like, I went to a restaurant here recently, and they have a clear door, so a glass door. So there's a glass door, and you can tell that it's clearly attached to the kitchen. But it had boxes and it had tools and it had all kinds of just stuff that should have a place, not where your customers come in and see. And I think I think that's my biggest, if I had a pet peeve in design or anything like that, it would be clutter. And I think too that you can have all of your stuff out, but it needs to have a place.
Right.
Um, and it's cool too. Sometimes you don't have to use all of your stuff at once. Put some stuff
Right.
back, take it away, 3 or 4 months later, put some new stuff out, and then you feel like you have a whole new space.
Mhm.
But yes, you can ask anybody at Revival Church. I will walk through saying that needs to be put away. Go put that away. I don't want, we have visitors that come into the church. I don't want them seeing that. They're first time visitors. You want them looking at that. Put your drinks away. I don't want to see them. And we have coffee time, of course. We've got a cafe, and we create this space in the foyer for them to be able to sit and enjoy their coffee. But once church starts, I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to see
Right.
trash. I don't want a trash can out. So just making sure everything is in its place and there's not too much of it. And people don't feel welcomed in that warm feeling if there's clutter and trash and everything. So I think that would be the first thing that I notice in walking into any facility, is everything in its place, because I immediately get anxiety.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And we go a lot of places, and for the most part, people do really good. They do a great job.
Mhm,
But I will have to admit, my pet peeve of a church, when
mhm.
I'm sitting in a church looking at the platform, well, I have several, but I'm not going to go into all. But one of the biggest is cords.
Yes.
Please hide the cords on the platform. Just hide the cords.
So I don't know if you noticed when you came that we created that platform for
Right.
our musicians to be
Mm-hmm.
on. And the whole reason that that was created was because I was tired of seeing cords. So we built a wall where I
Yeah.
cannot see cords anymore. We have a clean space.
And it looks great. Looks
I agree
awesome.
with you on that too. That to me is clutter. So
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Um, so with that being said, and I know homes, churches, people that work, that have other lives, they don't they don't have the luxury of probably spending a whole lot of time studying design or thinking about it. So I get that. But when you go into these places, what do you feel are some common mistakes people make when attempting to create a space within their own personal taste? And they don't seek outside help and they just try to do it. What do you think are some common mistakes they may make?
I think I'm going to go back to what I just said. Not decluttering the home. Um, because I feel like your space is your space. And whatever you like, that's what's going to create a home for you. There's a difference between a house and a home. You're creating a home. So I mean, in the design world, of course, we're going to come in and we're going to cluster things in threes, and we're going to make sure
Right.
everything is there's no crooked pictures on the wall. So no crooked pictures. And so people don't have, if they don't have that intuition of things are crooked, or this has to be here, or things need to be coupled in threes. Never even numbers. So that's something that people have to learn. I don't want to say that there's mistakes in people's homes, because that's what they like. So I think just going back to making sure that you don't have clutter, don't have things on the floor where people can trip. It's hard. That one's hard for me to say
Yeah.
that there's a mistake. I don't want to say anybody's making a mistake in their
Yeah.
home. There's just things that can make it a little bit more comfortable.
And that's exactly how I would want someone to feel that walked in my home. You're not making a mistake, but here, let's help you make this
Yeah,
more comfortable.
exactly. I can help you create this to look a little bit more streamlined, or
Right.
yeah. So
Right.
I only give advice when people ask for it. I try not to go in people's homes and say, oh, let me fix this, even though I see things that could be fixed. But it's not my home, it's theirs. So
Right.
if they
Right.
ask me, I'm more than happy to help, but I don't give my advice or my opinion freely.
Right. Right. Great advice. Thank you. I hope someone's listening to that.
Just saying, I wouldn't want anybody to do that to me.
No, I wouldn't want anybody to do that to me either. If you had a terrible space you were tasked with making warm and welcoming and had a limited budget, a limited time, and limited assistance, what are the top 3 things that you would make sure were included in that space?
So there are things that have been eliminated from this question, right? We're not supposed to say lighting or paint or anything like that. Although paint, it would be my number one thing. So let's
Probably.
let's take that out of the equation. And I can give free advice on this because I've done it. I'm experienced in this. When the church didn't have much money, I had to find creative ways. And that's part of the office that I was talking to about, finding an old pew from the old building, stripping it and sanding it down and staining it for a wood, but it has meaning to it. So being creative, I would say greenery, make sure that you have some sort of greenery, preferably a live plant. You get the oxygen from it and everything. If not, some sort of greenery to bring some life into it. Textiles, whether it's a rug or a pillow or, a blanket thrown over something, bring some textiles in. And I know you said, lighting is already there, but lamps are really good.
When you first set out to design a space, what's your creative process? Do you begin with an end in mind? Do you evolve as you go? How do you approach a space, a room, an event, whatever?
So first, I need to get inspiration, and we talked about that, in the beginning. So I need inspiration. What colors do I want to go with first? So I do like to think and visualize in my head, what does the end product look like? Where am I going with this? What style do I want? So colors are huge for me. I need to go make sure that the theme or the event that I'm putting on, that I have access to those colors. So I first find my colors, and then from there, what style do I want to go with? If I'm doing an event, do I want it to be themed, or do I want it theme based, or do I want it to be color based? So for instance, like my daughter's baby shower, hit my grandson, which is really hard for me to say. My grandson's name is Atlas Clay. So we went off of Atlas. We did maps, we did airplanes and things like that. So I knew it meant something, but that gave me a theme to go on. And then from there, what do I want it to look like? So I knew I wanted clouds to be hung. I wanted lights. I wanted that theme. And then if you just do an event on a color, which are all neutrals, your flowers, if you're doing flowers, your linens, all of that can just correspond. So I think it's hard for me because I don't want to say I have a process. It's just God-given, and it's a God-given talent, and it comes naturally to me. But I would say go color. What are the theme you want to do? And then I just kind of let it flow from there until I feel like it's what I had envisioned in my head. And sometimes this is down to the very, very minimal detail, and details matter. So
they're so important.
Extremely important. So yeah, details are huge, and it might be even an Achilles heel for me, because I'll walk in and say, no, I can see this, let's do this. And people are going, it's already done. Oh no, but it can be so much better. And I know you understand that, because you're like constantly adding till the last minute.
Always. The devil's in the details too.
Oh, isn't it true? It can be frustrating.
It can be. It's like sometimes I wish I couldn't see it.
Right.
Like, because if I do see it and it's not there, what's not there is gonna bug me so much, and nobody else even knows.
So, and that's what I was going to say. And I have given this advice so many times, but it's really hard for me to take my own advice. And they don't know what's in your head. So if that detail doesn't come together, no one's going to know. But the fact that I know, I can't seem to keep that, contained. I have to continue to move forward until it's perfect. And I need to work on that perfectionism, because I need to be a recovering perfectionist.
I know. And I've read the book about Art is War, and it's a great book. We'll link it here. Art is war. And it says that the enemy of excellence is perfectionism. And it's true.
It is true.
But oh, just just being able to unsee it, if we just had that ability to unsee all that kind of thing. I'm going to
I
digress. No, go
Sure.
ahead.
No, I would say I'm getting better, but am not completely recovered from perfectionism yet.
Maybe we need to have some weekly meetings on how we can. Hi,
Support each
I'm
other.
Melanie. I am Melanie, and I see details in everything.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Um,
I'm a recovering perfectionist.
whew, let's digress just a second and go way off topic. Talk to me about a tablescape, because like when I go to an event and there's a centerpiece, for like a large table, let's say a table for 10, a round table for 10, and there's a centerpiece. Most of the time I'm so bugged, and I don't even know why I'm bugged, but usually I'm bugged. And talk to me about what you would think, just off the cuff here, would make a great tablescape for a large round table, like at a dinner or in a luncheon or an event or something like that.
So um, my first thought when you're talking about this, and it's something, again, we're pretty much alike in this.
Mm-hmm.
What bugs me is that I can't see the person across the table that I'm talking to.
Right.
So I always, whenever I'm doing an event and who I'm working with, tell them, be able to make sure that I can see the visual. I need to see the people that I'm communicating with. So whether that be a short, you know, a short floral design there, um, maybe it's clustered together with highs and lows. That's what I like to see. You can also have very high floral
Mm-hmm.
arrangements or a centerpiece, but it has to be thin so that you can see everybody at the table. So that's what I think needs to happen more of. Um, when you go to an event and you're at a wedding or you're at a banquet, which I don't even know if those still exist. I don't do them. So I don't
I don't know either.
I don't go to banquets. So in the past at banquets or any event that you do, just making sure that your floral arrangement, your centerpiece, whatever it is, whether it's candles, are not in the line of vision with the people across, because it makes it very hard to communicate and have conversations without dodging. And most of the time, if you notice, people will actually remove it from the table so that they
They
can see
will.
the person across.
They will. And what
I'm guilty
shame.
of that.
Uh,
I
I
know,
am too.
beautiful, beautiful floral arrangement, but I
Yeah.
can't see you, so I'm going to move it, and it ends up being on the floor.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice on that, is just that anytime you're doing an event, whether it be a birthday party, whatever, that you have your floral arrangements low enough or wide enough. You can still have a big arrangement. You just
Mhm.
create out instead of up.
Good. Very good. And while we're off topic, let's go ahead and stay off topic for
Okay.
all of the people that may be listening who decorate commercial spaces or find themselves in a position where they have to do something with a commercial space. And I'm going to lump church foyers, lobbies into that. One of my pet peeves with a space like that is when women or people, sorry, not women, but people who try to make it welcoming and warm and inviting, do it like a home. That is distracting to me when I walk into a space that is a public space, when it's kind of done like a home. Um,
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
yes, I can. For instance, I've gone into lobbies, church lobbies, where there are spaces with little things, tiny things that
Got it.
would be great in a home. But in a large church lobby with probably a taller ceiling, a larger space, a larger square footage, it just gets lost and it just looks little piddly kind of off in a corner somewhere, or a bunch of the little things lined up, which then brings in that clutter situation. So talk about where people could get inspiration to break out of themselves, break out of their home mentality, and kind of go more into a commercial mentality, but yet still be warm and not cold.
That's really good. Because you're right. People have a tendency to go in and say, oh, this would be great here, this little vase here, this little candlestick here, whatever. I say, well, you can always go to Pinterest and put commercial, foyers or whatever. But malls are a good place to get inspiration. The sitting areas that they have, look at that. Go, and nicer malls have cool little sitting areas. Go to the airport. They also, when if you're flying out, get an inspiration from there. That's where I find a lot of places, inspiration, because it's a big space they're having to create, and they've created all these either little tiny places to sit. And you'll notice it's basically just a chair, maybe a table that you can sit a drink on. So there's not a lot of stuff that you need to create a warm environment. Always a rug. Put a rug there. If you have wood floors, or if you have cement floors, put a rug there, because that creates a little bit of warmth. But you don't need all the little knickknacks, just the basics, and you can still make that feel very warm and inviting for people to go and enjoy a drink, or just to sit and have a conversation.
Yep. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I want to add to that, hotel lobbies.
Oh, yes.
Have been a great source of inspiration, and if you don't travel, that's fine. Just go to all the hotels in your city or in your area and just walk in the lobby.
And
anybody can do that.
The good thing about Google is you can just go to your computer and you can Google it.
Exactly.
Or what the young kids do now, TikTok. They say that is the Google of today, TikTok. So they can just get videos and stuff that can inspire them if you don't travel. This is important to me, to help people in design. And I believe that God gave us 5 senses for a reason, right? And when anybody asks me, how do you create a space? I always think of the 5 senses. So touch, textiles, something that you can touch.
So good.
Sight, you come in and you see, everything's in its place. Just pretty stuff. And then you have smell. Always create your space to smell good. Not overwhelming, but just a little scent, a candle, air freshener that when people walk in, they can smell. And then you've got hearing. You come in, have a little jazz playing, have that background music, and then taste. Always have something, a drink, a piece of candy. If they're at your home, make sure they have a cookie. So to create a warm, inviting space, calm, peaceful, I always say, go to your 5 senses. We have it for a reason.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. That is super. I hope everybody just writes that down somewhere and puts it on their bathroom mirror and thinks about it for a while. That's really
the lighting. That comes in with sight. Make sure that you don't have fluorescent lighting on. Just have low lighting. It doesn't matter if you have to turn off your lights and put on some lamps. Dim lighting makes people relax almost immediately when they walk into the room.
Oh, that's so true. You know what? Can you and I team up and go on a crusade against fluorescent lighting and try to get it outlawed?
Please. I can't stand it.
I can't
stand it. Yeah.
Why? And it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It gives me headaches. I hate it. Makes people look green. It's just awful. Take it out of any space that you have. Take it out.
Yes. And if you have natural light, use it. Turn your lights off and just use your natural light. God gave it to you. It's beautiful. And it makes you look pretty.
Yeah.
You don't look green with the fluorescent light.
That's right. I mean, you can't beat God anyway. He knows how to put all these tones together. So Oh, that's so good. Do you have anything else that we haven't touched on besides that? That five senses thing was incredible.
Oh, thank you. No, I think we've pretty much covered it all. It's, just creating that peaceful place with all the five senses. Um, Make sure that you don't have clutter, because if you're having somebody come over, just declutter a little bit. It creates a more peaceful. So I think we've gone over everything. Um, a little bit of inspiration that people can go to: Studio McGee. She's a good one to look at. Chris loves Julia, Arrow and Bow, and then Hartman Haus. Those are really good inspirations you can get ideas from. And listen, even us designers go and do our research. We look at other people's work. If we don't have a moment of inspiration, we go look for inspiration. So don't think that that's wrong. Go get your inspiration however you have to do it, and create that space that you love.
All right. That's great. We'll link all of that in the notes so that if you missed any of that, we will have all that there. Okay. So can our listeners find you online anywhere?
So funny, I don't do social media.
Okay,
I
that's
mean,
fine.
I don't do a lot of it. If there's any questions that they have or want to reach out, they can go to details.by.Kimberly@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, send you ideas, and tell you where you can get inspiration from.
Oh,
And
great.
then I'll let you know if I decide to go back on social media.
You know what?
Us introverts, we just don't do stuff like that.
I'm not on social media either. I have to get on there
Right.
because of Kingdom Quest Ministries, of course. I have to get on. Even before I got off, I wouldn't even follow anybody I knew. I would only follow like decorating sites,
Right.
inspiration sites, because it's just I'm sorry, don't have time.
And I'm not against social media. I mean, my kids are
No,
on it, but my interests are not there. I have enough in my life not to worry about what other people are doing. So
amen. Amen. We're on the same page on that too. Thank you so much. It's been awesome. I can't wait to see you. I think that we have a visit coming up really soon, and I'm
we
excited
do.
about that.
Thank you for the
And
invitation. It's been an honor. It really has.
I've watched you. I've seen your stuff. You are second to none. You're right up there with the greatest in my book. So,
Oh, well, thank you. Gone a little too
thank
far there, but I appreciate it. I think the world of you too, Mel.